Everyone is having a great morning, evening, wherever you are. Today, like our Medicode staff introduced, I will be talking about how we can navigate internships in tech as undergrads. So to briefly introduce myself, my name is Jennifer. Thank you for the introduction. I am currently a TPM at one of the FAANG companies, and I am working in the sector of global infrastructure and energy. Prior to joining this FAANG company that I will not disclose, I was at Tesla, and previously I was at Volvo, so I've been very automotive oriented person, but right now I am fully settled in at big tech, and I want to share with you some of the tips on how I was able to build my experiences with particular focus on student internships. So the way this webinar is going to be structured is through 6 steps. First step, finding your dream internship. Second, researching. Third, also researching. Fourth, actually applying to your dream internship and what to do after, and also how to prepare for your dream internship. And as you see from this slide, I put a lot of emphasis on the word dream. And I want to kind of elaborate on that a little bit. I know, and we all know, today's job market is extremely tough, especially in tech. There's going to be thousands of applicants, and also so many opportunities. However, what I like to, emphasize is quality over quantity. I know so many, resources, it could be online or, people around you, they always tell you to apply to more internships, more applications, more opportunities. However, I don't think that is necessarily how you should be dedicating time in the, application process. You really should narrow down your priorities, your, relevance of these opportunities in terms of your career trajectory, and really, invest time, choose and focus on certain internships to maximize your chances. Investing time into networking, and your polishing your application is the only way to really get your application seen. So I am going to put that particular emphasis, and I'm going to do that by using the word dream in every one of my slides. So yeah, that's my personal philosophy. And my rule of thumb I put here, I applied to a maximum of 15 roles at a time, whether that be internships or full-time roles. And I would reach out to at least 50 people for each company. So, you can imagine how long that process would take. But, you'd be surprised to learn that that is not, as much time compared to if you are applying to 500 firms at once. And if you're using the same resume across 500 different companies, then you're probably wasting time. So I want to really put that emphasis on prioritizing throughout this webinar. And yeah, let's get started. In order to, get your dream internship, you have to find it first, which is why it is the first step. And I identified 3 main sources to do this, and that is through either, career websites, career fairs, or other career websites like, LinkedIn, Handshake, Indeed, the YC, career pages, and etc. However, I want to put particular focus on the company websites because, like I said, our theme for this webinar in particular is landing your dream internship. So I am under the assumption that everyone, will have an idea of, what industry you want to go into in the future, or, just a general idea of what big tech looks like, and, that one particular company, you really want to go to. So with that in mind, I think the first bet should definitely be looking into that company website for any opportunities that pop up instead of relying on these third-party websites like LinkedIn or Handshake that just kind of relay recruiter information onto, a completely different website. And I'm saying this on as a recruiter standpoint too. So I am in no way affiliated with the HR sector of work. However, I feel like I do understand how HR operates on a corporate standpoint. So, recruiters, like many others, is a corporate person who has a lot on their plate. And utilizing these party websites to list a listing, obviously that is going to give them more traction in terms of, sending out these opportunities across many different types of people. However, they are going to get flooded with thousands and thousands of applications that are not relevant to the role that they posted. And they will give you more emphasis if you reduce their work by applying directly on the company website. And that kind of gives them one less hurdle for them to access your resume. So I like to emphasize that if you have an ongoing list of roles that you want to apply to or companies you're particularly looking at, to go directly onto the company websites to apply instead of relying on the roles to be posted on, LinkedIn or Indeed, because that's one less step for the recruiters to reach you. Another way is to utilize your physical resources, and that is through career fairs at your university or organization. This is a great way, especially if you don't have any internships under your belt. So, you don't have anything fancy on your resume yet. You definitely want to make that physical impression with a recruiter or a hiring manager so that you at least put a face to, your name. You can, more enthusiastically appeal that you're really, really invested in this role. And if they know you, they're more likely to give you an opportunity to interview. So definitely utilize these career fairs to your maximum. It is often the easiest bet. So once you have found your dream internship, our next step is to study your dream internship. And what I mean by that is research. And we're going to do this in two parts. So the first part is basic research. It's questions like, what is the role? What does the company do? What team will I be a part of? Where's the job based? What are the technical skills needed? And what are the soft skills needed? These are very straightforward questions that you need to be, able to identify when you look at the job description. So on this slide is an example I found on LinkedIn. It is a listing for a product management intern at TikTok. And as you see here, all this basic information I outlined on the previous slide is in the job listing. So what is the role? Product manager intern. Where is the job based? San Jose, California. Which team will I be a part of? They tell you that. TikTok product, social, and creation team. What are the technical skills needed? What are the soft skills needed? They are all under the qualifications list. So the reason you have to have an understanding of these basic requirements is because you have to align that this role is exactly what fits your skill set and your needs in forming a bigger career trajectory. So if, the role is product manager, but you're not interested in the social and creation sector of TikTok at all, you are a more, business analyst related person, then this listing is not relevant to you, even though you want to be a PM. So, getting these simple questions answered will really tell you whether or not this opportunity is relevant to you. So now that we've identified a listing that aligns with your goals, we now have to do a deep dive. And this is going to be an in-depth research of what are the company's core values, what the team's core responsibilities are, how will I fit in, what will I do, have I worked on something similar, what kind of impact will I have? And these are all information that is not necessarily in your job description. So although in the TikTok example, the responsibilities part was outlined in the job description, most of the internship listings are pretty vague in terms of what they expect an intern to do. So this is like a very detailed example, but you might not have that. And that's why I put here that this further research might not be in your job description. But hopping back into the example of TikTok, what will I do? Have I worked on something similar? It's all under the responsibilities section of the job description. And moving on, one of the most further research examples that I like emphasis 100 times is answering the question of what are the company's core values. And I did I did not do a good job in looking for TikTok's core values because I don't think creativity is their only core value. But the reason this is so important and relevant is because it would shape how you answer your behavioral questions. And I will go into this in very, very much detail later on in the webinar. But aligning with what the company is striving for and how they're building products that will help them achieve these core values is just so important. And for example, like Tesla, where I was, um, the three values are outworking, ownership, and obsession. So outright, you kind of get an idea of what kind of culture that company will have. Tesla is a very fast-paced company, and everyone drives their own projects. There's very big responsibility even for an intern. So what I meant to say with that anecdote is that the understanding the company's core value really gives you insight into the culture that they're striving for and the work ethic that every employee is expected to have. So having that understanding prior to your interview will be so helpful. And one more question here. What are the team's core responsibilities? This is especially important for you as an intern to have an understanding of your scope of work prior to walking into an interview. So, kind of researching any major products or major projects that the team has specifically delivered within the company. This research can be done through the company website, or you could do a Google search. There might be some news articles if you are, like a really outward customer-facing product related team. So yeah, do that research, and it's so useful to weave in some of these research that you've research material that you've collected into your interview answers, so that your interviewer knows that you've done research and they know that you know what you're talking about. So yeah, it's this is like the single-handedly most important part of your prior research process, and I put so much emphasis on this. After researching your dream internship and kind of developing a really good idea of what the team does, what the company stands for, and your role, it is time to apply to your dream internship. And this part is pretty straightforward. However, there are two main factors that you should check for before clicking submit. And the first point that I want to bring up is if your resume is tailored to the job you're applying to. And this also brings back to the point that I mentioned at the very beginning, the emphasis on the word dream. If this opportunity, if this listing is 100%, so aligned with your radar, this is my dream internship, I really need to have it. I think, some effort should be put into writing your resume as well. So bringing us back to the responsibility section of the TikTok job listing that I just shared, there are so many verbs within this bullet pointed list. So the first goes, collaborate with engineering, design, data science teams to define product requirements. Second, conduct user research and analyze data. Develop and maintain a product roadmap. Monitor and analyze product performance, data-driven insights. So all these all these verbs that really outline your responsibilities that you would be taking on as an intern, I think they should be embedded in your resume somehow. I'm not saying use these words verbatim in your resume. Don't say, collaborate with engineering, design, blah, 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 unless that's what you really have done. However, there are ways to, just kind of use the same connotation of words in your resume, the same kind of, idea, I guess. So make sure to really tailor your resume to the job you're applying to, especially if this is your dream internship, and really put that effort into every single application. And this is the only way to maximize your chances. And another reason that this is really important is because recruiters, I think most of us know that recruiters use a hiring screening software before actually reaching out to individuals about their resume. And what that screening software does is really take words from this responsibility bucket into fields in the candidate's resume that match up. So if I'm the recruiter and if I want someone with this particular skill set, oh, I want my intern to be able to use data to, I don't know, like analyze XXX amount of customers working in this field, then I would have that query and I will input it into that screening software, and it would give me a list of candidates that say the same thing in their resumes. And that's how I would first screen my candidates. So that's why, in order to be seen quickly, you need to tailor your resume somehow. Um, and moving on, I know this part, I think for tech is a little bit irrelevant now, but I know some jobs still do require a cover letter. Same thing with the verb role. You just get more space to write about how you're competent to perform these responsibilities that the company has outlined for you. So really emphasize that and make it metric driven. Make sure, kind of treat it like a college admission essay. I know that's a pretty long time ago for most of us now, but you have to, in order to write an essay that appeals to someone who's going to pick you, you have to emphasize what you are able to do for that person. So really bring your experiences into the cover letter and talk about what you did and how you're able to translate that to the role that you're applying to. And always mention core values, how you align with their core values, what you're trying to achieve out of those core values. So it might be like an easy, I guess having a cover letter might sound, it could be like, oh, I'll just like run it on ChatGPT. But again, a cover letter might also go through a screening software. So nailing down all the details that the listing has provided for you is so terribly important. Once you've applied to your dream internship, once you've clicked submit, you have to reach out. You have to make sure that your application is now seen by your recruiters and hiring managers. And there's two ways to do this. It's either through LinkedIn DMs or recruiter contacts. However, the second method of getting recruiter contacts, I do not recommend unless you have had physical interaction with this recruiter um, in person and you got 100% affirmation that you have 100% affirmed to this recruiter that you are going to be reaching out through email or phone or whatever, because it could be seen as an invasion of privacy. So unless you've met this recruiter through a career fair or through someone you know through a networking event, and you told that person explicitly, oh, can I get your email? I want to reach out to you about this opportunity. I advise you not to unless you did all that. Um, However, the LinkedIn DM method, it is a tried and true method. I invest so much time into this, and there's really no way in this job market for your resume particularly to be seen, no matter how stacked you are, if you don't reach out to the relevant people. So you might ask, who would we send these out to? And it is a lot of people. First, hiring managers, recruiters, people who went to your school, people in the role that you want, people on the team that you want. So there's so many ways to search for these people. First is through the company plus role plus team query. So in the TikTok example, I would search TikTok product manager on the social and creation team. And that would give you a list of people who are a product manager within that team that you're applying to. So you could reach out to them, ask them about current openings, blah, blah, blah. And I forgot to mention, but you do have to be very, very intentional with these messages at this stage after your application. Because if you're just reaching out to these people for a coffee chat, and to, learn about the company, I feel like you should have done that before applying. And after applying, it's less of a coffee chat. You already know the company that you're going to work for. So here we're reaching out to, intentionally get them to give us a job. So, yeah, first way to look for people would be the company role team. If we're looking for alumni that if we're looking for alumni that works at the firm that you're looking at, looking into going to. So we would search company, role, school, and there will be like so many people that pop up. These people are an exception because they might not be able to get you a job, but they are able to tell you their recruiting process. And that might apply to you 100% because you might have the same recruiter who is in charge of um, that school or a regional recruiter, depending on the company. So they might give you insights on, pointers on who to reach out to. And something I do on a very, I guess, routine basis is to look for posts. I think when people look for people to reach out to, other people to reach out to, I think most of us like have nailed that, but not a lot of people I've seen look for posts. Um, so what I do is I would look for the company and the role that I am trying to, pave my way into, and then I would click posts and I would sort it by the latest. And sometimes I would find posts that are posted by hiring managers themselves. So they would be like, "Oh, I'm looking for a product manager on my team. Please send me your resume." Or they would be like, "I'm looking for an intern to work over the summer. Please reach out to me if you have any questions." So those are real hiring managers, and they are hiring directly through LinkedIn. So always look for these latest posts. I even have an alarm set for some of the roles that I was applying to so that I would get like an alarm, a notification whenever a new post is uploaded under this query. So yeah, try to be obsessed with finding these people. And like I said, I do these searches so often. I literally stalk on LinkedIn. I spend so many hours on LinkedIn. I try to at least reach out to 50 people per the company I'm applying to, so that my name is seen across the team and everyone knows who's applying, to their team. So yeah, try to do that. Try to really nail down the search. And now I'm going to get into what to say in these LinkedIn DMs. And I think this portion of the webinar is the most important. Um, so there's two ways to DM someone on LinkedIn, right? First is through an in-mail. I'm assuming like everybody knows what an in-mail is. We get about like five of these every month or week. That's not a big number, but it lets you directly message someone who is not in your connection, and you're able to structure it like an email. There is a word limit, but it is very big. So you're able to set a title. So what I do usually is I save these emails for people that I am 100% sure are relevant to the position I'm applying to. So that could be a hiring manager that I identified, or a recruiter, or someone on the team that I know has hired an intern before. And this information is not obtained through someone just telling me, right? I will do my research. I would look at like previous intern or previous associates posts, and I would find out who their managers are, and then I would like reach out to them. So this is for people who you're 100% sure are relevant. Um, and that way you're not wasting your email. So I would title it like this: regarding blah blah blah's blah blah internship. And I would say, "Hello, I hope you are having a wonderful week." Just any kind of introduction. And I would mention my name and I would be very explicit about why I'm reaching out to them. So I said here, "My name is Johnny, and I'm reaching out to you regarding my recent application for the blah 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 intern position at blah 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 company." So outright, they know what I'm here for. Outright, they know that I'm reaching out for this purpose. And then I go a little bit into who I am and what I do. So here I said, Johnny is a current rising junior at blah 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 university studying this major with a concentration in this field. As an aspiring XYZ, this XYZ put your role. So for example, I'm a PM, an aspiring PM with a blah 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 mindset, and in the blah blah blah, there should be your company core value. So if your company core value is, let's say like I don't know, like let me give a Tesla example again. For example, how do I say it? Like, okay, like so Tesla's like mentor is like acceleration to sustainability. I don't remember, it's been a while. But if I said like an aspiring PM with a growth sustainability mindset and particular attention to and let's say I'm applying to um like a supply chain team with particular attention to automotive supply chain, I am passionate about. And in this blank, I would put a value of mine that aligns with the company value. And I could say I am passionate about the rapid growth of rapid but sustainable growth of I don't know, like expanding automotive plants. So I could say something like that. Um, while I understand that you may not be connected to the position, I was wondering if there was a way that my credentials can be seen. Your time is valuable, and I understand if you don't have the bandwidth. I've been applying to this company consistently, and I'm hoping to be noticed soon. That's just something I say all the time. And then you would thank them. So, like I said, this is very tailored to people, tailored towards people that you are 100% certain of their relevancy to your role, and that, certainty is determined through your research. So this is a little template I use, and with this message, I would attach my resume. And it works. It really works. I've gotten so many interviews through this method. People do check their emails. Um, However, if you don't have, if you run out of InMails or if you're not part of LinkedIn Premium like myself, you might benefit off of the second method a little bit better. And that is a cold DM. And this is done by sending a connection request. So, if you're not connected to this person, but you want to talk to them, but you ran out of emails, then you would send that button, connect button, and then there would be a pop-up that says, do you want to send a note to this person so that they know who you are? And that section has a very limited word count. I think that it's about 300 characters. So what I do is just say hi. And I say my name, I say, where I come from, where I go to. And then I say, I stumbled across your profile while researching these internships at that company, and I would love the opportunity to connect and discuss if you're hiring candidates. Thank you so much. And this is if I am trying to figure out if they're hiring candidates. If I know that they're not a hiring manager, and if they're a part of the team that is hiring, and they might know a hiring manager that they could plug me into, I would reword this by saying, I would love the opportunity to connect and discuss your experience at John Company. So it would sound like I am requesting for a coffee chat, but I have bigger intentions. And those intentions being, if they accept my connection request, I would say, I would double text and I would say, thank you so much for connecting with me. I wanted to reach out and ask if you're hiring. And then I would say the same thing, like as I did the email. While I understand you might not be directly connected to recruiting, I would appreciate the opportunity to hear about your experiences. I attached my resume to this message. I've been consistently applying to this company, blah, blah, blah. And then I always thank them. So this way, since you're double texting, most people, not most, but some people will respond to you. They will at least tell you if they're hiring or not, so that you know for certain if this person is related to the position, or not. Or, if that doesn't work out, you can just do a coffee chat and then build your network. So yeah, I would repeat this many, many, many times when I was applying to internships. And, I would get about, if I reach out to like 100 people, maybe like 6 people would come back to me and 3 people would offer me an interview. Then I only applied to one position, but I got 3 interviews, right? So it really works, right? It's like a tried and true method. Focus and um, invest your effort into one thing instead of putting it all over 500 applications. So yeah, really invest time this way. Don't invest time in actually applying, invest time in the aftermath, reaching out, getting your resume seen. I think that is the most important part. Um, and once you got that interview, and I would make this part really quick, you would have to prepare for that interview. And I would only focus on the behavioral portion for now because, technicals might differ across very different disciplines, but you only have to nail down a few things. And that is first, a 1-minute introduction. You have to prepare this like many, many, many times. Your 1 minute introduction is probably the most important part of your interview because depending on the company, most interviewers are members of the team, right? So they're trying to gauge your fit with the team. They do have most companies, most interviewers have a fixed protocol of how to conduct these intern interviews, and they have a set of like recommended questions. However, not a lot of people like go strictly by that protocol and they like to go with the flow. So if your 1 minute introduction is really interesting, you are able to set the trajectory for which your interviewer asks questions. So I always structure it in the way that is like my name, my school, my past experiences, um, what else did I say? And my notable projects that led to a big scale impact and how I'm looking to implement that in this new company. So if I structure it in that manner, my first question was always, oh, tell me more about that project. Tell me more about that metric that you just mentioned. So I am outright setting that, setting my tone for the interview, and I'm kind of directing my interviewers to ask me that question. Um, Apart from that, these are some of the main questions that you need to prepare for. You need to have an anecdote for these kind of questions. And those are, why are you applying to this company, team, or role? What are your biggest strengths and weaknesses? Remember, don't be a pick me and say you are a perfectionist, so that's your weakness. Instead, say something that is relevant to your project. Instances that you failed because of something and how you've improved from that, blah, blah, blah. Also talk about also be prepared to talk about what your notable accomplishments are, and also talk about instances of conflict resolution, cooperation, collaboration, and failure. Failure, these are four different anecdotes that you have to have just to prepare for whenever the question arises. And also prepare any questions for the interviewer when they ask at the end, so that you kind of know what to ask, or you can just, go with the flow, depending on the conversation. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And in terms of how to structure the responses, I did prepare, how to go by the STAR method, which is the situation, task, action, results method. And I have my own analogy on here. However, I'm not going to go through all this because of time's sake. I think it's pretty straightforward. I was just going to read this to you. And yeah, I'm now ready to move on to the Q&A if Metacode wants to take over.